You'd think I'd say San Antonio, but I'm actually not going to say San Antonio.
Do you want a wealthy retirement without worrying about money? Welcome to the Retire in Texas podcast, where you will discover how to enjoy your faith, your family, and your freedom in the state of Texas. And now, here's your host, financial advisor, author, and all-around good Texan, Daryl Lyons.
Welcome to the Retirement in Texas podcast. My name is Daryl Lyons. I'm the co-founder of PAX Financial Group in San Antonio, Texas. PAX Financial Group is the sponsor of this program. Visit them at paxfinancialgroup.com. I need to give you the legal disclosure. This material contains general information only, is not intended to provide specific investment, tax, or legal advice. Visit paxfinancialgroup.com for more information. Investment advisory services offered through PAX Financial Group, LLC. Okay, so this is a fun show. Top 5 cities to retire in Texas. Debatable, right? I love it because this is my opinion. And I am an expert in my opinion. All of these cities have to have over 100,000 residents. Okay, that's the key. So that way, I did that because the small towns are tough. You know, I don't go to Canton, Texas, and I would probably be most biased in Boerne to have Boerne as the number one. But I thought, let me have a minimum number of residents because I've been there or at least know of those cities. And so to meet the criteria of this list, 2 things. You have to have 100,000 residents. You have to be in Texas. And we're going to do this in a top 5 countdown format. Number 5, the Woodlands. Now, the Woodlands is a great place. If you haven't been there, the people are cool. I like the people there. I've got a lot of friends and clients there. Love the Woodlands, love the trees, love the community. And I'm not the only one. It was considered by niche.com the best city to live in America. Isn't that crazy? The best city to live in America. Has 118,000 residents. It's affordable. It's right there in H-Town. It's right there in Houston, right in the midst of it all. So you get all the Vietnamese food, Thai, Indian, Italian, crawfish, Tex-Mex barbecue, all the green spaces. There's parks around there. It's really cool because you get the community and then you get all the good stuff of Houston. Now you also get the bad stuff. The reason that you don't make the number 1 on the list, is you have the humidity, right? That stinks, but it's still cool. There's just a lot of stuff around there. You do have the space station. Don't forget about that right around the corner. Oil and gas. So a lot of industry, refineries and oil and gas, just a great place to find a job if you want to work part-time in retirement. Plenty of business going on there. Yeah, I'm talking a little bit both sides of my mouth here because I'm talking about the good and the bad. You've got the hurricanes, right? But hurricanes aren't extremely prevalent. I know they happen in the Houston area, but it's not crazy all the time. But when they do happen, like Harvey in 2017, they happen pretty big. Don't forget, it's Houston. Woodlands are in Houston. So Houston's the 4th biggest city in the country. So you're going to deal with all the traffic on 610 and the loop. And so the Woodlands is considered kind of the inner looper area. But, if you're in the Woodlands, you can creep over to NASA or Clear Lake or even Galveston, which is beautiful little area. Great fishing over there. And remember that Houston is the medical hub of the world. When it comes to cancer treatment, Houston's second to none. So in terms of medicine, you've got it even there in the Woodlands. You've got the Houston Methodist Woodlands, Texas Children's Hospital Woodlands. You're going to have the best medicine in the world right there in your backyard. Plenty of sports. Houston Astros, Texans, lots of colleges, Rice University. You've got the Houston Livestock Show, which is, I believe it's the biggest in the country. And I think it's a little bit understated that there's greenery in that area. There's a lot of parks and wildlife. So lots of churches, good people. I've always enjoyed the Woodlands. I think it's a great place. It feels different than Houston. So that's my 5. That's my number 5, Woodlands. Let me jump to number 4. Number 4, a little history here. There's a guy named Sam Bass who was an outlaw and had a famous shootout with the sheriff, Grimes. And this shootout is reenacted every year. And thousands of people go to Old Settlers Park to participate in this reenactment. And that happens in the metropolis of Round Rock. Now, Round Rock is right next to Austin. And if people don't know, Austin is really close to Texas. Austin's weird, man. I'm telling you. But I love my friends in Austin. It's beautiful, but it's just different. It's just different than Texas. And Round Rock is just north of Austin. So you get all the cool things of Austin, like all the music vibe, which is off the charts, all the cool college scenes and great food, but you're in a different community, Round Rock. And money.com said this was the number 2 spot to live in the country. That's pretty cool. And I could see why. There's lots of jobs there. And if you're going to retire there and you want to work part-time, you're not going to have a problem finding a job. There's great sports. The Round Rock Express is real popular. They've got this multi-purpose complex there for rugby and lacrosse and frisbee, ultimate frisbee, some kind of alternative. I say alternative sports because in Texas, it's football. Everything else is alternative, right? So that's kind of cool. And if you're active outdoors, this is a great place. And they even have this family water park. It's called Rock and River Water Park. I haven't been there, but everyone that's gone has loved it. And don't forget about golf. If you're a golfer, Austin rocks the golf. Golf Magazine said it's one of the best in America. Yeah, I'm reading it here. It's number 1. And I'll put the link in the show notes. Number 1 in America. And the Omni Barton Creek, which is it's not in Round Rock, but it's in Austin. It's a beautiful golf resort. Love it there. Lots of lakes, lots of rivers, live music, Austin city limits, just really a cool place to live. It's growing fast. It's getting very expensive, but I think Round Rock's a good alternative to Austin, and living there will get you a little bit out of the craziness of Austin and into a little bit more of a community. So that's my number 4. So number 5 was the Woodlands. Number 4, Round Rock. Number 3. So this little town started out as kind of a point for trails for taking longhorns from Texas to Kansas. Cowboys firing their pistols in the air and saloons and red light districts. Actually, at one time it was called Hell's Half Acre because it was just the wild, wild west. And what happened is this Chisholm Trail kind of went through this town at the same, or I guess around the same time, there was some oil booms just around it. And it became kind of a central hub for these oil booms. And there was this hotel there called the Westbrook Hotel that would host a lot of the landmen and the operators and promoters and speculators. And people just started to show up at this town, and began to develop some refineries for the oil and gas. And then in the 1920s, they started to build up some more of the infrastructure, some pipelines. Of course, then you have bank deposits and big office buildings, and then you get homes. I mean, that's just kind of how it went. Just went from the wild, wild west, Chisholm Trail, Longhorns, to oil and gas, Texas tea, to refineries, to pipelines, to banks, to big office buildings, homes. I mean, that's just the story behind Fort Worth, Texas. And so Fort Worth's our number 3 on this list. And my friends in Dallas, an apology to you, but if you look at Dallas relative to Fort Worth, you've got a lot more concentration in Dallas. So there's a lot more people in Dallas in a smaller landmass. And so as a result, it feels a little bit more tight to live in Dallas than in Fort Worth. There's just a different feel. And if you live in the DFW area, Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's different culture of Fort Worth people versus Dallas people. It's kind of strange because you think, okay, it's all Texas, but it's a different culture, different Texas culture. I think Fort Worth has just a little less concrete, a little less competition, a little less rush. Rent's cheaper in Fort Worth than in Dallas, and pretty good employment too. I mean, you got American Airlines there, Lockheed Martin, if you need to work part-time and when I talk about employment, and I talk about these big companies, you may not want to work for the big company, but there's plenty of suppliers and small businesses that support these bigger companies. So finding these part-time jobs may be something that you're looking for in retirement. Like I said, Dallas is great, but it has 500,000 more people in the same landmass. So I prefer Fort Worth. And you got the Fort Worth stockyards, you got rodeo, live music, cattle, longhorns. One of the things I didn't know was 60% of America's money is actually minted in Fort Worth at the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing. For a little fun, you got Texas Motor Speedway, NASCAR, and of course you could fly over or drive over to Dallas and see the Cowboys play over there. So plenty of things to do in Fort Worth. Love my friends in Dallas, but I got Fort Worth here at number 3. And I want to make sure that you get a chance to grab our ebook, Retire in Texas, at paxfinancialgroup.com. I want to nudge you that way. I also want to remind you that wherever you move to retire in Texas, you're going to be okay because good people find good people wherever they go. So if you don't end up moving in one of these top 5 cities and you move somewhere else, good people find good people. So you'll be just fine. Number 2, the town of Corpus Christi, I actually love. I love going to Corpus Christi. And it's not necessarily always Corpus Christi, but there's some peripheral towns that are really close, like Port Aransas and Rockport, that kind of, I think about Corpus Christi and I think about the whole area. Believe it or not, Corpus Christi is the 8th largest city in Texas, and it has 300,000 people. It's always struggled to make a name for itself. It's always struggled to get that thriving metropolis. And I believe we may be on the cusp of seeing that today. What happened during COVID is nobody could really travel, but people were bored and they wanted vacations. So as things started to open up a little bit, many people went down to Corpus, Port Aransas, Rockport, North Padre, Mustang Island, kind of all community kind of thing. And people started to buy houses on the beach and around the beach and off of canals. And then people with real money went down there and started to buy houses and rebuild them and make them beautiful. And as a result, prices have gone up. But not only that, is the money flow has worked in such a way that you're starting to see some really cool food places go down there. A lot of good momentum going into that greater Corpus Christi area. So even though it's struggled over the years to get traction, we may see the whole area start to become what it can, the potential that it has. It really started out as a Roman Catholic town long time ago. And it's been around since 1519 and took on the name of the body of Christ, Corpus Christi. So really good people, good fishing community. If you like fishing, you want to retire as a fisherman, this is the place to be. Winter is nice in Corpus Christi, relative to Fort Worth. Fort Worth, you're going to get some cold weather. In Corpus, your cold is relative. It's not too bad. In the last 125 years, there's only been 3 major hurricanes that have impacted Corpus Christi. And I don't really know why that is. Maybe some people know why the water or the temperature or humidity or whatever kind of forces things to move up to maybe Galveston area or even Louisiana. But Corpus doesn't get hit as much. And a lot of the city leaders have designed the body of water in such a way with a wall that really protects much of the city. And the great seafood, very relaxed, laid back. Interestingly enough, in 2019, CNBC said Corpus was one of the top 10 places to retire in the South. There's the Texas State Aquarium, not too far down is South Padre Island if you want to party on spring break with the teenagers. I love the USS Lexington, really understated museum. If you're going to retire and you love history, you could just work there. It's amazing. And like I said, the peripheral towns of North Padre Island, Rockport, Port Aransas, South Padre Island, they're all quaint. They're all growing. And if you like fishing and you want a laid back lifestyle, low cost of living, number 2 is Corpus Christi. Okay, drum roll, please. Number 1, top city to live in Texas, top city to retire in Texas. Let me make sure I'm clear here. You'd think I'd say San Antonio, but I'm actually not going to say San Antonio. Why? Because I don't live in San Antonio anymore. I love San Antonio, love my Spurs, everything about San Antonio I love, but I don't live there anymore. I live in New Braunfels. And so my number 1 place to retire is New Braunfels, Texas. Why? It's just a great community, man. I mean, I just love it. It's kind of got all the luxuries of the big city. You're right down the road from San Antonio. Frankly, you're not far from Austin. So you get all the great things of San Antonio. If you want to go downtown, it's not too difficult. And if you wanted to creep up to Austin for some live music, or even if you're going to retire and want to work in Austin or be a part of that community, New Braunfels isn't too bad. And you've got some great water activities. The Comal River and the Guadalupe River are right in New Braunfels. You've got Canyon Lake right up the road, fly fishing, tubing, swimming. Schlitterbahn is one of the biggest water parks in the country. It's amazing. In fact, if you live in New Braunfels, it's not much of a challenge to cut over through Seguin to I-10 to hit Houston. So really, when you look at New Braunfels, you can hit San Antonio, Austin, and Houston really well. Seguin, I mentioned Seguin. Seguin's getting a ton of business because it's really the easiest place to go for business, for manufacturing business to ship to Houston and San Antonio. So Seguin's getting a ton of new businesses, plants, and manufacturing. But then people are living in New Braunfels. So that's the interesting thing. The businesses are going to Seguin, but many people are living in New Braunfels because it's such a cool community. If you haven't been to Green, it's a district in New Braunfels, that will sell you alone. It's great food, great wine, great community, great music, lots of tradition, Germantown. Green, it's not a town, it's a district of New Braunfels. There's a drive-in theater. There's Natural Bridge Caverns, which is right up the road. I love the food, gristmill, McAdoo's, love the history. It's growing off the top. It's one of the best places to live, Money Magazine. And frankly, it's considered one of the fastest growing places in the country. The Texas Water Development Board showed that the population between Austin and San Antonio corridor, it's going to catapult between 2014 and 2030. There's going to be over 1 million people that will live in between Austin and San Antonio. New Braunfels is in the thick of it. So if you're going to retire in Texas, I'm going to recommend that you retire in New Braunfels and you get here now because people are moving here. The prices are going up and there's still a lot of great little communities to live in. I think you're going to love it. So that's my top 5. Very controversial. I know some people are going to kick me in the rear end because I didn't put their city on it. But number 5 is the Woodlands. Number 4, Round Rock. Number 3, Fort Worth. Number 2, Corpus Christi. And number 1, New Braunfels, also known as New Braunfels. Hope this was helpful. Hope you retire in Texas. Make sure you grab our ebook, Retire in Texas. And remember, you think different when you think long-term.
This is the podcastfactory.com.